Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am the two-time, Naboxed award-winning Naboxed, and I am coming up to the Museum of Vancouver. So, let's go take a look and see what's in there. Today's exhibit is called Ghetto. Ghetto is a theoretical project that explores the role of the architect in the creation of inclusive citizen cities by providing housing for Iranian refugees funded through an innovative timeshare model, leveraging American tourist dollars to provide social benefit in the form of refugee housing in Venice. The project explores the collective role of all citizens in the establishment of architectural models that transfer wealth to those in need. So over here we start the city before the city, which is for our indigenous friends. In the short space of 100 years, the city of Vancouver has grown up to a huge monster, which has almost swallowed our land. Chief Delbert Guerin, 1977. So, forgive me, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. So this is an ancient Musqueam village, known to others as Marpole. What is now an industrial landscape in South Vancouver has always been that unpronounceable one for me, to us, the Musqueam people. It was a part of a network of villages in our territory of a larger regional network of family relations, intergovernmental relations, and trade. Our ancestors lived, raised families, and were buried there. Our deep connection to our land and waters is reflected in our language, our oral histories, our belongings, and our ceremonies. Vancouver moving forward, a reconciliation process. The city before the city aims at writing history by creating a space for Musqueam to share their knowledge, culture, and history by highlighting the community's role in shaping the city of Vancouver. Leslie Grant, 2014. The Museum of Vancouver holds over 500 belongings from them. In this exhibit, the Musqueam First Nation offers new understandings of this material culture. Collaborating with Musqueam has allowed the museum to critically examine its past practices. Early museum practitioners erased connections between indigenous peoples and the history of the city. The museum wishes to highlight the deep connections between them and the Musqueam First Nation, as well as Musqueam's presence in the city. The museum hopes this exhibition will contribute to the larger conversation about reconciliation between Aboriginal and settler communities in Canada. The Museum of Vancouver invites Vancouverites, British Columbians, and Canadians to engage in this process. However, reconciliation requires more than conversation. It includes a return of land, shared responsibility for the management of lands and resources, and the revitalization of indigenous languages. Moving on to the Decades Gallery. It's in the mail. When the post office cannot deliver mail addressed to Chinese recipients, they send it to Yip Sang. Everyone expects that sooner or later, all Chinese pass through the Wing Sang building. Yip Sang holds letters from men working in crews, logging camps, and fish canneries throughout the province, but not all letters are claimed. These undelivered letters addressed to men who died, moved elsewhere, or Return to China were found in the Wing Sang building in 1988. Life of luxury. Shaughnessy residents enjoyed lives of wealth and privilege in large mansions where they are waited on by servants. Comfort, status, and dominance. Typical Shaughnessy houses have close to 20 rooms filled with opulent Edwardian furniture, silver, and other household icons of status and wealth. A symbolic show of the owner's brave domination over Mother Nature is added with his display of local hunting trophies, including moose, caribou, elk, and grizzly bear, from expeditions up the coast and into the interior. Chinese houseboys. Chinese laborers performed domestic duties in many Shaughnessy mansions. By the turn of the century, 260 Chinese houseboys were employed in Vancouver, usually earning $10 to $30 per month and living in basement rooms labeled on architectural blueprints, Chinaman. A city of home and gardens. $12 down and $12 a month bought you a house lot in 1921. In the 1920s, cheap land and building supplies made homeownership a possibility for many Vancouverites. Bungalows, frugal buyers' homes of choice, were easy to clean and maintain. With low-pitched gable roofs, textured sidings, and exposed rafters, beams, and brackets, Vancouver's bungalows sat high in the ground to avoid the seeping water table. In 1919, the province adopted the federal Better Homes Scheme to ease a housing shortage and supply affordable homes to the Great War veterans. Local real estate men insisted new homes be built on vacant lots in developing neighborhoods instead of clearing new areas to avoid flooding the market and depressing land prices. One result was modest new homes in spotty clusters throughout the city. Struggling through the Great Depression. With the crash of '29, resource prices plummeted and Vancouver was on the skids. First you lost your job, and then you got evicted because you couldn't pay rent or the mortgage. Or you kept your job, but your wages were slashed to the bare bones. If you fared a little better, you likely helped out those who were worse off. Work wanted. The government sends jobless men to relief camps. By 1931, Vancouver's unemployment levels were the highest in Canada at 28%, bolstered by desperate migrants riding the rails to its warmer climate. Faced with an idle population, governments feared the moral consequences of handouts and radical agitation. In remote areas, the federal government set up relief camps for men to work and be protected from agitators who preached alternatives to capitalism. The work amounted to hard labor, such as road building, and brought low pay, as little as 20 cents a day. Living conditions were equally severe. By 1932, there were more than 8,000 men working in the camps. Enemy aliens. War in the Pacific broke out on December 7, 1941, when Japan attacked the American naval base at Pearl Harbor in the Hawaiian Islands. Officials registered all Canadians of Japanese descent, coded them by race, confiscated their property, and forced them to leave a 100-mile protected area along BC's coast. Japanese Canadians were rounded up and put on trains to internment camps. The 50s has an actual functioning jukebox over here. Don't mind me, I just need some time to reflect. And we're passing here through the 60s now. Lots of hippie stuff here, like hippie posters. Making the hippie scene groove with the flower children of Vancouver, Lotusland Paradise. You gotta have one of these bead curtains for this sort of thing, don't you? Surrealistic pillow. Jefferson Airplane. There's also a Dressed for History exhibit here. Why costume collections matter. Women's fashion from 1750 through 2000. Now, I know I try to reach a lot of people, but I'm not necessarily sure this is something that would that I can exactly get passionate about. So forgive me if I decide that not to really touch on this one a whole lot. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps it up for me at the Museum of Vancouver. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I found it really hard to try to get excited about the women's fashion exhibit. If that's your thing, by all means, come check it out. As far as what I think of the museum overall, it's fine. If for $20, I feel like it's a bit much for one visit, but if you enjoy doing the museum thing, there's a membership you can get for $35. These are adult prices. So if you're gonna go, like, say 3 or 4 or 5 times, then the membership's gonna be worth it for you. But yeah, not the worst museum in the world. So I guess that's it. Bye, everybody.